What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Culture Blitz on MisfitTV. With me, as always, is my host, Jay. What's up, Jay?
Chilling, bro. I'm hyped today. I'm hyped.
And we also got my man, Jake. What's up, Jake?
I'm going all right. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, football season is coming up. So, I don't know about y'all, but as time goes on, I get more and more excited about it. Let's talk about like the team that's been making a lot of moves this off season, and that's the Buccaneers. They just signed Leonard Fournette. They also still have LaShawn McCoy. That's crazy. So, with that being said, how like the Browns was the whole hype last year when they got OBJ and they had Landry already and stuff like that. What do you guys? How do you guys think that the Buccaneers will do this season? Like, do you think it's just like a bust? Like, oh, talk to them in like a couple years, maybe to kind of click? Because you gotta think it's a lot of talent. How you gonna give everybody the ball?
If you only played offense in the NFL, I'd say hands down your Bucks are your 2021 Super Bowl favorites. I'd say hands down no offense can compete with Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. But there's a completely other side of football, which is defense, and I just don't see that with the Bucks. So yeah, I think for fantasy numbers, get Chris Godwin, get Mike Evans, get Tom Brady, get all those guys on offense. But I'm not buying into the hype because of their lackluster defense, and I think that in a league where it seems like offenses are getting much better, I don't see the Bucks keeping up with even the Saints. I don't see that matchup going very well for the Bucks simply because I don't see that they have anyone who can stop Alvin Kamara or Mike Thomas or who can get to Breeze. I just don't see it happening, and I'm not buying into the Super Bowl hype for the Bucks.
I mean, normally I think I would lean with you because honestly, it's just one of those things that just feels like a Madden Ultimate Team, just like in real life. And I feel like we said something similar, Jake, ironically, about your LA Clippers. It seemed like every week they were just picking up somebody else, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, just trading for guys. We thought at one point it was just like, what do they even need these guys for? And the same thing comes down to the Bucks. I mean, Chris Godwin already on the squad, obviously. Mike Evans already there. Bringing in Leonard Fournette after bringing in LaShawn McCoy. I mean, jeez, man, talk about a good combination of speed and power in terms of those two running backs and obviously the amount of tight ends they have. But I think the biggest thing, kind of speaking to your defense point, is I know the Bucks haven't had a really great defense over the last couple of years, but do they have a quarterback like Jameis Winston who turns the ball over 20 times a year? Because that's not Brady, bro. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be some touchdown machine like when Peyton Manning was with the Broncos on that Super Bowl run where he had 43 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. I don't see that even with how high octane of an offense this is. I don't think it's going to be that magnificent because I feel like at the end of the day, they still have guys that can get keyed on, and there's a lot of really well-placed defenses just within their own division and high-octane offenses within their own division, with the Saints being the main one, obviously. I think the Panthers with Teddy Bridgewater get a little bit more efficient with the fact that Cam is always in and out of the lineup, and they get a guy in Teddy who's been relatively consistent after that big injury with the Vikings. I just feel like the Bucks defense is going to improve because they're not going to be on the field as much. You know what I'm saying? Like when you turn the ball over with 20 picks by yourself, the defense starts to kind of get a little underwhelmed by the fact that the minute they turn around, they're back on the field. This is a team in the Bucks that has Tom Brady, one of the quickest passers in terms of getting the ball out of his hands, with weapons who are more than capable of accommodating for that play style, along with two running backs out of the backfield, Leonard Fournette being the main one, I think, who have improved or already are well pass catchers out the backfield, which gives him the type of options that he's had like in New England in terms of being able to kind of just dump the ball off when things get hot. I think all of those things is going to make their defense a little bit better. I'm not saying they're going to be top 10 or anything, but I don't like buying into the hype, bro, but it's something about having an offense like that just makes your whole team better. And the drastic jump from Mutt Squad's team that they have right now in comparison to last year where your quarterback is Jameis Winston, no shots to him, but like when it comes to turning the ball over, he's at the top of the list with guys like Eli Manning the last 3 or 4 years. It instantly makes your team better by having a quarterback who will not put the ball in the other team's hands. So I guess you could say I'm buying the hype a little bit, but I think it's just going to come down to Fournette. That signing was crazy, but whether or not he produces, I think is going to actually have a lot to do with how far this team can go.
For me, it's one of those things where it's like, because there wasn't really a preseason, it's kind of those things where we just got to kind of like watch and see how it play out as far as like how that team is going to do. But like, I don't think they're going to go as far as like to the Super Bowl or anything like that, but they definitely have potential to do better than they did last season, like you said, with Jameis Winston throwing all the interceptions and stuff like that. That would definitely cut down with Brady, I think. I mean, I think they'll do better than they've done before, but I don't think it's going to be like up. They're going all the way.
I can't fight it.
Moving on into our next topic, the new playoff format. I also kind of liked how the old one was before because it always seemed like it's hard to get that like last spot. So anyway, I'm talking about the playoff format. So there's now 14 teams that can enter the playoffs going into the season. So it's 7 in each conference. Yeah. So I mean, there's going to be 3 games on Saturday and 3 games on Sunday. So there's going to be more football. But do you guys think that it's just like making it easy for, those teams that aren't really that good to kind of like sneak in?
And it makes that in the hunt segment for most teams down the end of the year a lot less exciting. I mean, usually that graphic looks real intense where it's like the last 2 teams kind of squeak it in and they've got this big old in the hunt with like 4 or 5 teams just kind of hanging for dear life. And, adding one more squad on each side, it definitely kind of, it expands things a lot in terms of being able to reach the playoffs, but we're gonna have a lot more of the Seattle Seahawks getting in at 9-7, years like that, where yes, they had Marshawn Lynch had an extremely breathtaking game against New Orleans that year that kind of made it where it was like, yeah, they were meant to be here, but it kind of saps things down a little bit by the fact that there's just one more spot to potentially be able to cling on to your season. And I think the only thing that I think it truly helps is in divisions where it seems like the number 1 team is a toss-up always. Jake, I think your division is like this every year. I think it's been watering down a little bit in terms of like the Giants have just been, they've been there. Danny Dimes might be that guy this year, but I still feel as though there's a little bit of a progression that he needs to make. The Washington football team is a team that my grandmother told me she couldn't even keep her head up straight when she would watch that team because it would just stress her out. So I kind of expect that moving forward because I just see them not really getting better anytime soon. And letting go of AP, I felt like was just like random on their end. So I feel like they're going nowhere slowly. But I also think divisions like the one with Tampa Bay, Carolina, and New Orleans, I think divisions like Tony R's in terms of the Steelers and the Ravens, which it seems to always come down to either week 15 or 16, and it's the most nerve-wracking thing ever.
Man, if we both got in, that would be crazy.
We talk, and I think that, and that's a great point, is I think that with teams like that, if you see New Orleans and Tampa Bay get in, you see the Steelers and the Ravens get in, Lord, if Dallas and the Eagles get in, that's just going to be a rough weekend for all of us in terms of having to I'm going to have to go to Jake's house personally for that game if they both end up having to play each other round 1. But like, that's probably the most anticipated part about it is in some of these more competitive divisions, that second team is going to be what kind of flips the script for everybody. Because there's always that second team in the division who might have played well enough to be in the playoffs, but just got left out because of old school format. So I think that helps things out a little bit.
See, I look at it from the different approach, and I actually like it that they're expanding it because in one case it's more football, always a good thing. But then in another sense, it's more of a dogfight at the top of each conference. Like the past few seasons, you've seen the number one seed having, or the number one and two seeds having like a 2-game lead over everyone else so they can just take it easy. But that 1 and 2 seed has pretty much always been close. And now that only the number 1 seed is guaranteed a first round bye, you see these
Yeah,
teams
I'm glad
that
you
are
said that.
more effort. They're going to have to put in more effort down the stretch of the season. And I think it's going to be really interesting with teams like the Ravens and the Chiefs, who many people are projecting are going to have very similar records. And they are going to be distanced from the 3 through 7 seeds. So they're going to have to fight it out for the 1 seed because the stakes are so much higher now than they used to be to get a 1 seed compared to the 2 seed.
Jake just put it in a nutshell.
Yeah, bro. I completely forgot about the part about the first
Yeah,
round bye, because that's something
yeah.
that I think that'll probably up the ante. I agree with that one heavily because yeah, and I mean if we're talking about upping the competition come week 15, 16, 17 in terms of closing out seasons and then throwing off on top of that like that extra division rival might sneak into the playoffs. Yeah, that could be kind of scary. And then extra football on top of that. Oh, I don't know, Jake. You might have moved the needle for me on that one because I completely forgot about that first round bye situation because that changes the game in terms of having to fight down the stretch. And I kind of mess with that.
How I put it is like this: it's always scary to play another team within your division and pretty much 3 times, so twice in the regular season, and then you see them again in the playoffs. So that's always super interesting with certain rivalries because it's like it never gets old, and it's like okay, now it's like the playoffs are on the line, the Super Bowl's on the line type of thing. So game day predictions for the primetime games that are coming up. So we got the first one for Thursday, the Texans versus the Chiefs.
I mean, I don't think the NFL could have picked a less exciting game to watch. I don't think the Texans have anything that it takes to stop the Chiefs. I think they could have picked so many better matchups to have as the first primetime game, the first game of the 2020 NFL season, and they put the Chiefs and the Texans on the spotlight. I think the Chiefs belong there, but the Texans, I mean, they have Deshaun Watson. Shout out to him for getting a 4-year mega contract. But who else do they have? David Johnson has proven that he is unproven over the past couple of seasons after he looked like a star that was going to turn and right the ship for Arizona. He never really did that. So he's now their starting running back, and they lost DeAndre Hopkins. This is not going to be an exciting game. I see Kansas City running away with the victory.
I feel like just because you said that, that makes it an exciting game. Let me be honest with you. It's only because of the fact that Deshaun Watson is that guy. I mean, for him, he's a player that has been dealing with a faulty offensive line for who knows how long, has not really had efficient weapons around him besides Hopkins. I mean, he's had guys here and there in terms of secondary receivers, but he's never really had that other guy to give the ball to on a consistent basis. And he's just a guy who makes plays. And I feel like against Patrick Mahomes, their defense is still a little questionable. I feel as though with the kind of guy that Deshaun Watson is, that I don't think it's gonna be a pretty shootout. Like I don't think it's gonna be like how the Chiefs and the Rams last year was, in terms of like that big old shootout that they had a year or two ago where it was like 120 something points put up in the game. Like, I don't think it's going to get that crazy, right? But I feel as though the back and forth is still there. And I think the biggest reason why they may have done this, Jake, is I understand your take on the Texans are not, in the class with the Chiefs in terms of it being a prime time, this is how we start the season type of matchup. But there's already discussions as to who is going to be the rival quarterback against Patrick Mahomes in the division. Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Deshaun Watson? Well, the only ways that we can really see that from a longevity standpoint is seeing them on the bigger stages throughout the courses of their career. They both signed big-time deals, and we're talking about potential decade matchups for them to specifically, and Lamar Jackson is due. Yeah, Tony, your boy is definitely due.
It's coming up.
And I mean, with all of that stuff being taken into account, I mean, yes, maybe the Ravens would have been a quote unquote better signifying of that, maybe that rivalry potential matchup. But I feel as though going with the Texans as the next best option is not horrible. With all that being said, I got the Texans getting spanked, but I think they're going to only lose by like 14. So I think when I say spanked, I think the score is going to be high, but I still think that Pat Mahomes just has too many guys, and that's going to make the score be a little skewed in comparison to like what Deshaun Watson might actually do versus what he had versus what he has around him to really make the most out of it. So I got the Chiefs, but I think it'll be a little bit better than you think. A little bit better.
The Ravens will see the Chiefs week 3, so I'm chilling until then. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Jay, I think you brought up a lot of great points. I'm definitely excited about the game just because it's just football in general. Like, it doesn't even matter who's playing. We've been through enough here. You know what I mean? I'm just at the same time though, like it could have been worse. It could have been like the Dolphins or something.
Good point. Good point.
I don't think it overall the Texans as a team is not better. But Deshaun Watson himself, he's able to make plays and stuff like that. So I definitely think it'll be going back and forth, but I definitely got the Chiefs. I don't think it'll be like super close though at all. Deshaun just got paid too, so I mean, hey, he might act up.
I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game. Yeah, I think it's gonna be
Cowboys and the Rams. That's the Sunday night game.
So, man, okay. So here's my thing. Jeez, I just don't think the Rams have gotten better. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. Look, Jake. For all intents and purposes, this is not a troll. This is not a troll by any means. But I do believe that the Cowboys have gotten relatively better. I don't think it's significant. I think picking up CeeDee Lamb moves the needle for them because they needed a second wide receiver bad, bro. I mean, they were trotting Jason Witten out there last year as a third down security blanket. That's not gonna float. They brought that dude out the booth for that. That's not gonna work out long term, bro. So having a secondary wide receiver alongside Amari Cooper, I think is gonna be huge for them. I just don't think LA got better, and I understand Todd Gurley's injury concerns probably had a lot to do with why he got traded, but I don't see how you trade a top 3, top 5 running back when healthy away and call yourself a better team moving forward. I think Brandon Cooks was a guy that, I mean, he's continuously bounced around, whether it was with the Rams, whether it was with the Saints, and now in terms of being with the Texans. I just feel like that's a guy that they're going to miss long-term too in terms of an offensive down-the-field threat. And I mean, Jared Goff's no world beater to me. I mean, I'm not saying that the Cowboys are the world that needs to be beat, so to speak, but like, I think the Cowboys are a formidable enough opponent. I did warn you before the season started when I picked the Cowboys defense. It has a lot to do with Sean Lee and that boy already on IR. So with that being the key, I think that the Cowboys win, but it's by like a field goal just because that defense is horrid when Sean Lee doesn't play. For whatever reason, they're horrid when Sean Lee doesn't play. And he ain't playing week 1. So I think they have the offensive firepower to be able to put up points on the Rams, who I don't feel like have improved. But with that defense being, ocean wide open when Sean Lee isn't there, I feel like they win, but barely.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to win by a little bit more than barely, honestly. I see the Rams, and I think I think CD is going to have himself a really, really good debut to the NFL. Not having to be guarded by Jalen Ramsey really helps because he is, I'm assuming, going to be locked up on Amari Cooper. But I mean, the Cowboys don't have any pieces on defense that they can build around with Sean Lee out, except for maybe Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, who are kind of blossoming but not quite there yet to be able to turn the defense around. I don't think it matters against the Rams, though. That's my big thing is as bad as the Cowboys defense is right now, they don't have to be good. Jared Goff hasn't shown anything, any potential to be a good player. They got rid of Gurley. They got rid of Brandon Cooks. And I just don't see how their offense can put up good numbers even against a Cowboys defense.
I mean, I would say I would have the Cowboys winning this one too. But like, then again, you got to think about like the Rams have Aaron Donald, so it's like I don't really know like as far as like how close it'll be. But I mean, I definitely think the Cowboys have more of the pieces, and they could probably get in sync more than the Rams can. Because I honestly don't even know what's going on with the Rams and what's been going on with them lately. And they got rid of Todd Gurley as well, so it's like, what the heck? The next game, this would be one of the Monday night games. It's going to be the Steelers versus the Giants. Jay's Steelers, okay.
So, Jake, you remember that good old statement you made about it being a weird primetime game to have the Chiefs and the Texans run, considering the way that the Texans look?
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels a little bit like that, bro. I'm not saying that the Steelers are not the Chiefs by any means. We got a couple of pieces on the outside. We got to work on to even like come neck and neck with that. But I mean, dude, who do the Giants have, bro? Like, let's be honest. Like, I love me some Evan Ingram. That dude is a tight end, and a wide receiver build. It is ridiculous. Saquon is must-see TV, and Monday Night Football fits his play style because the bright lights with that type of running game, I mean, it attracts attention. And obviously, Danny Dimes, he caught a lot of flack early on, especially being picked where he was picked above guys like Dwayne Haskins and stuff like that in his draft class. But he kind of came on relatively well as the season progressed. But I feel as though there's still things. We saw more of him as a runner than a passer, which was really weird considering the type of profile that they were trying to give him coming out of college. On the other end, hey, man, look, we coming back boosted. I'm just saying, like, Juju is – I think he understands what it's like to be a number one now. We got rid of Doug Hodges, which is a W in my book because – I don't even know how we had that guy running out there, but he was doing his thing for the most part. But I'll take Ben over Duck Hodges any day of the week. And then I think that with McFarland out of Maryland, and I think that shoring up that running game with James Conner, if James Conner is healthy, we can hang with anybody. I genuinely believe that. I felt the same way. Even without AB, I felt the same way when we had Le'Veon Bell. When healthy, because of his ability to run downhill and catch the ball in the backfield, when healthy, we can hang with anybody offensively. And then defensively, we have corners out there with guys like Hayden, my bro from Miami, who I slept on in that trade, who I'm just like extremely hype on in terms of Minkah Fitzpatrick. So we got guys back there. We got TJ Watt, who had a great year in terms of sacks last year. I'm hyped for this team, and I'm just so elated at the fact that they threw us the Giants in week one. That is a good way to start off some 2020 season for a team that just needs a good little bounce back after going 8-8 with what felt like the longest year ever as a Steelers fan. I got the Steelers. I ain't got a score for you because I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like we're gonna. I feel like we're gonna do all right.
Ain't nothing wrong with what you just said. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you there that the Steelers are going to win the game. I wouldn't be as high on them if I were you. I think you're putting a lot of stock into Big Ben,
Oh, trust me, I
who
am.
we haven't really seen perform. He didn't perform at all last year. Like, I mean, he played a couple games, but then I think what was it, his elbow. Um, so we haven't seen him in a couple years now, like healthy Ben. I don't know if we ever will see healthy Ben again for an extended period of time, given his age and that he is a bit past his prime. I think if he can play well, I think the Steelers are going to be a middle of the pack team, maybe grabbing that seventh seed in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have a problem against the Giants.
Just as a quick retort to that, Jake, we haven't really had healthy Ben ever. if we're gonna be honest, that dude's always kind of had nagging injuries. He's just seemed to kind of play up to the challenge of it. I agree with you. There's a lot of stock going into it, but I gotta have some hope coming off of an 8-8 season that we had to really earn. I feel like coming back with a lot of our guys healthy and being able to kind of start hitting the ground running with a team like the Giants, like you said, definitely can't take them lightly just on the fact that we haven't seen Ben in a year in terms of like really on the field. But I gotta buy the stock they're selling just to feel comfortable because after last year I had way too many quarterbacks not to be able to put my money on. So I'll take Ben over all three of them that played last year.
The Steelers are going to eat. That's all I'm going to say. The Giants are like the Dolphins to me in this game. So Steelers.
I hope so. I hope so, Tony. I swear, bro. I need a week 1 dub bad, bro.
So last game we got is the Titans and the Broncos. That's another primetime game. You want to start with Jake? Who you got on this one?
I got the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I see them as a team that was really well last year. And literally, as you said that, I got a Bleacher Report notification on my phone saying Von Miller might miss the season. He suffered an ankle injury in practice today, and he's getting an MRI. If they're already saying he might not play this season, even though we're like a little less than a week out, I don't think there's any shot he plays week 1, which just hurts them even more. I think they lost Chris Harris Jr. this offseason to the Broncos, so their defense isn't where it's been the past few years, like the one that carried them to the Super Bowl. I mean, the Derrick Henry train is leaving soon, and it's not going to be stopped against this Broncos defense the way it is.
I mean, that's the easiest way to follow it up right there, Jake. I'm taking the Titans in a dub that is big time because my boy Derrick Henry just got the money and my dude Von Miller's not playing. Look, I like Bradley Chubb, but he ain't holding this dude. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Titans. I don't think it's going to be big because I think Ryan Tannehill might throw for 100 yards, but I see Derrick Henry going crazy, and that's enough against that defense. Missing Miller, yeah, I'll take my chances with the Titans and not look back. Easily.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty simple. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Titans too. Obviously, I just think, I mean, they're the more well put together football team, and also I think their defense is like slept on in a way too. Like I feel like their defense can definitely hold their ground at times when they need to, but I think they'll be fine. Like you said, they still got their pieces with Derrick Henry and Tannehill. So with that being said, with the season coming up and, the rookies and stuff, we get to see them make their debut. Who are y'all excited to see play and think is going to have a breakout season?
It's kind of like a understandable, predictable pick. And I wouldn't say I think he's going to have a breakout season. I'm more excited to see his attitude on and off the field, and that's Joe Burrow. He went from winning the national championship to, well, I mean, the last team in the league. And he is a guy who I see as kind of being like a hothead, like a bragster. I mean, yeah, he just won the national championship, but there's that famous picture of him sitting down on that sofa smoking a cigar. Like, he's all of that. And yeah, I mean, he's the number one overall pick for a reason, but I think he's going to really struggle um, to get to Cincinnati. And even though he might be putting up good numbers, I don't think it's going to translate to their actual record. And so I'm excited to see how Burrow kind of deals with that throughout the course of the season.
Okay, I think to follow behind that, I'm gonna pull up my own little bias as the Georgia boy on the podcast. I loves me some Georgia Bulldogs football, and I especially love the running backs, which is why Todd Gurley, a huge fan of Nick Chubb for Cleveland, very high on him. Hate to see him anytime we have to play him. And I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift for the Lions. I don't think the Lions are going to go anywhere in the division that they're in with the Bears defense going crazy the way they are. And probably what we can assume is a pissed off Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback this year, considering the boy did not get weapons in this draft again. But DeAndre Swift is a guy who I feel like brings a lot to the table as a runner out the backfield and a pass catcher. And he's going to get a little bit of tutelage from Adrian Peterson in this season, which I think could be a sneaky pickup for the Lions, whether he gets playing time or not, because I think that there's a lot of Swift. There's a lot that Swift can pick up from AP through these training camps, through games, learning from a guy like that in the backfield. That's going to help him grow as a player. I think the other thing about it is I honestly feel as though outside of what probably Marvin Jones, I would say that DeAndre Swift could potentially be their second best player offensively outside of, the quarterback being Matthew Stafford. I mean, obviously that would be
You
their
can't
first
sleep on
assumption.
Kenny Galladay like that.
Look, bro, I think he's gonna get a lot of touches. I like Kenny. I genuinely feel like he's one of the better deep threats in the field down the field for really any team as a deep threat. I feel like he's kind of Tyler Lockett-esque, if not maybe a smidge better as a 2, versus Tyler, who's been turned into a 1 a lot of the time for the Seahawks as of late. But I think DeAndre Swift, the Lions just have not had a decent running game in a while. I mean, they had LeGarrette Blount for a weird stint, and that kind of went okay for the short amount of time that they had him. But I genuinely feel like DeAndre Swift gives them something different at the running back position that they haven't had in a while. Maybe stepping out on my limb a little bit and saying he'll be the second best offensive player is a little bit of a stretch. But I do think that he brings a dynamic to their team that they've been kind of missing. And I don't know if it's going to translate into wins, but it is something to keep an eye on in terms of the development of their team moving forward, at least.
It's not bad. I would say Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie running back from Kansas City. And the reason being is because with Damian Williams out, I actually am excited to watch him play and see what he can do. And yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty straightforward. But also because you think about it as well, like the last good, like really good running game that they had was with like Kareem Hunt. So it's like, are they going to be able to duplicate that or make it even better this upcoming season? Because at the same time, you do got to remember they do need their run game as much as they need their passing game to open up, those plays and stuff like that. So I'm just excited to see the rookie and see how he does.
I think we got a lot of guys in this class who could shock us this year, bro.
So question of the day would be, what game or games are you guys are excited to see this weekend? Like, comment, subscribe. For Jake and Jay, I'm Tony. This is Culture Blitz. We'll see you next time.